In this video, we're going to talk about how Terraform can be used with the Orchestrator. So, I have two things here. I have two actions within the Orchestrator that can be used to interact with Terraform. The first one is something that is called get template input variables. And this one does simply that. It gets the variables from a variables.tf in your Terraform implementation. The second one is called execute template that allows you to execute something within Terraform. But before we get into this, let's look at how this is set up. So if I go into my targets, I have a target here that says Terraform. So if I click on Terraform, I see this is a type Terraform endpoint. And really what this is, because this is not the Terraform Enterprise. Let's just clarify this. This is Terraform open source. In order to execute something on Terraform open source, really what you do is you create an account key. In my case, I'm using a certificate. You create a host IP address and a port, and then the default bash shell you want to do. Because what this is doing is really connecting to SSH. So once you have this set up with your SSH endpoint, even though it says Terraform, then what you can do is use that endpoint within the workflow. So if we go back to that Terraform example here, you'll see that if I'm just in the workflow variables, if I scroll down, you can see that I am using a target. Where is it? Target type. Oh, I think it's specified in here. Here we go, Terraform. So you can see that I'm using that target. So let's take a look at the Terraform side first. Within Terraform, I have a couple things. So in the root, if I just look, first of all, you have to install Terraform. So you have to do an apt, you have to install Terraform using, downloading it from their site. And you can actually go into, let me see here, and you'll see in their download, just pick where you want Terraform or what version you want Terraform to be for whatever operating system you're using. And just make sure it's in your path. And that's one of the requirements. Then once you have Terraform installed, you'll see that I've selected a directory. And if I just do a ls because I'm on Linux, you'll see I have a TF directory. So this one right here. And if I go into TF, I see that I have a subdirectory called create file. Create file is the plan that I'm going to use within Terraform. So let me go into create file. And under create file, you'll see I have actually two TF files, two Terraform files. I have the variables TF, which if I just cat variables, you'll see I really just have one variable named text, and I declared it as a string. I haven't defined anything about it yet, and I haven't done anything with it. And when I get into the main TF, which is what is to be executed, what I'm doing is I'm creating a resource that's a local file. I'm calling that local file name foo.bar, and I'm going to put some content in it that is using that variable text that was defined in the variables.tf. So all of this can be used within Action Orchestrator. So you'll see that you can use these things together. And this is just an example. You could actually use this with Amazon, with Google, with Azure, with whatever you like. But you'll see how the stuff kind of intermingles by using Terraform with Action Orchestrator. So let's take a look. The first thing I do is I get variables. And it's important that you see that I have /root/tf is my path. And under that is my template, which is create file, which all it really is a directory that's under root tf create file. So that tells you the template path. Your root of all your templates are within root.tf. And what this will do is get the variables from the variables TF. That's what this first action does. The second action will actually execute the template. So I actually could say select, and let me just make this a little wider here so you can see the submit button. I could say select, submit, and then it'll give me a drop down of what's under that root TF path. So if you have a bunch of them, you could just select what directory you want under root TF, and that will be your template. So I've already selected create file. Now the other thing I'm doing here is I'm adding a parameter. So a parameter is something you can pass through the file, and really in the back end, all it's doing is doing a -var and passing that variable, which is the name text, with this particular type of text or this text that I want. Now I've hard coded this in here, and that's one of the ways that we could do it. So let's run it and just see what happens right now, and then maybe we'll add that to a prompt after that. So let's just see how it works. So we're going to run it. And you'll see that the first thing I did was get variables. And it's important to note that get variables, when you click on this object, you can see what the variables are within variables.tf. Now, what's nice about it is it puts it in the perfect format that you need to use the create text. So if you don't know what the parameters are in your variables.tf, or you don't know what format it is, take a look at this, because this will give you the proper format. You could just copy it and then use it in the next step. So the output was successful. It gave us the parameters. And now let's do the execute and see what happens. So we can see on the execute side, it says that it did the template create file. And the text was, this is my text. And what we said is this is just going to create a file, right? So we can go down to the template response and we can see everything about that response. The apply was complete. Everything worked. Succeeded equals true. And if we go back and actually look under that file, under that directory, we can see that we now have two new files. We have the Terraform TF state file, and we have foo.bar, which is the actual file that we created. So let me just clear this out for a second. Let me say cat foo.bar, and you'll see that it has that text, and there's no line carriage return. So you see it doesn't, it's kind of hard to see here, but that's okay. It printed out, this is my text. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in, and let me just clear that out. So let me remove foobar, and let me remove the Terraform state, because I'm going to do something else now that's a little bit different. What I'm going to do is now, in that create text part, I'm going to take this parameter that is, this is my text, and we're going to remove that. But first things first is we need to create a variable. So let's create a string input variable called text, and this will be prompted for the user. So I could say input is required, hit save, and now I could use that within this particular parameter. So I could select all of this. This is my text, and select the little puzzle piece here, and go to workflow input text, and now it'll actually prompt me for that text that it's going to use within Terraform. So let's see how that works now. So let's run. Now I'm going to say, hi, comma, how are you? And so the text is a little bit different. We're going to run it. And hopefully everything's going to work perfectly. Let's see. It looks like it did. So now we did the same thing. We got the variable and we created the text. And let's see what happens now. So we still have the foo bar, but if I cat foo bar, now it says, hi, how are you? So very simply, you can see that we can interact with Terraform and with this orchestrator here and use them together. And that's one of the powerful things. You know, we're not saying do everything within this particular orchestrator. What we're saying is use the tools that you're accustomed to using, but use them together to make it more powerful. So you can create these scripts and combine all these things together with the tools that you're already using. So that's about it. It's a very simple example. We'll do some more advanced examples in the near future. Thanks.